Very great points in that last panel. Really cool stuff. And to the bicycling thing, I actually have one of those little electric hybrid bikes. Pretty fun. I like to ride it for fun on the weekends. And but I will tell you this: I don't know if people are going to be riding that bike when it's like 115 out. I personally wouldn't. Yeah, we're going to talk about maybe making things a little cooler here. That's what we're going to get to. That's not me, but we're going to get to what CryoX is doing here. I do first want to start out actually kind of on the tail end, since we're waiting for that to get set up. On the tail end of that previous discussion, I was doing a quick calculation on my phone of you guys seen those new Rivian Amazon trucks? I think actually Rivian kind of opened up the contract so other companies can use that same model of truck. They're electric. They're pretty cool. MKBHD, popular tech YouTuber, has done a little walkthrough of them if you ever want to see what they look like on the inside and how they function. Very popular. They appear to be what's going to be the most common electric delivery truck for the most part for the next decade. And yep, that's it. Thank you. And as we all know here, it's hot out here. And I was doing the math, and I figured out that here in Arizona, I could increase the range of one of those by 20%. With my technology, at least actually 20%. Depending on how far they drive, it could be upwards of 40 or 50%. And I did the math, and it would be about $4 of energy savings per day, assuming they charge once per day, which would equate to basically my material paying for itself in under 4 years. Not even to mention, that's just purely economics, not even to mention the electrical savings, right? The decrease in usage on our infrastructure. So now, what am I talking about? What is this material I am talking about that can increase a electric truck's range by 20%? That is something called Cryoskin, which I came up with because it is too dang hot here. I've been here for 5 years. I came from sunny Southern California. Oh, sorry. My name is Jordan Forche. I'm the founder of CryoX Co. We make this. Cryoskin. It is a self-cooling, self-adhering vinyl using something called radiative cooling. And yes, I made it because it's too hot here. It's so much so that I was like, okay, how do you cool things? On the cheap, super easy, no electricity. How do you do it? Well, radiative cooling. It is radiative cooling. Now, it's unfortunate that most people don't know about this. In fact, ASU did a study on heat-related deaths in the valley. And they came up with a list of 50 solutions, some of which are technical, some of which were social, some of which were economic solutions to heat-related deaths. Number 2 on the list was radiative cooling. But radiative cooling was the only one that didn't make it to the end. Why? Because they couldn't find anyone to buy it from. And that's where I come in. So radiative cooling is a technology that allows you to cool things down without electricity by reflecting to the atmosphere. And it has a variety of benefits, like you can cut your AC bill in half if you apply it to a building, cool down electronics outside, you can increase EV range on some vehicles depending on their driving by around 40%, 20%, 50%, depends on how far they drive a day. And this is how it works. You guys all know reflectivity, right? When something reflects, super easy. There's another factor called emissivity. That's what that dotted blue line is, where you can take a material in a certain spectrum, and if you can tune it, that's what that green line is, the 8 to 13 micrometer range of our atmosphere. If you can tune it to that, you can actually shoot through little holes in our atmosphere, not physical holes, but spectrum holes. And you can basically vent heat energy out through the atmosphere. So, when applied, it works pretty well. And this is my first ever test that I did about 2 years ago in Santan Valley. November. Well, actually, what do you know? That's crazy. I wasn't even planning that. That was exactly 2 or 3 years ago today. So that's pretty nuts. But yeah, that was my first ever test on phones. Right. This is internal battery temperature. And I've been testing it ever since. So I've had some capstone projects running tests on it. I have another one doing it right now for the durability factor. If you look really closely, let's see, laser. If you look really closely, that one right there is a real-world test I did for one of my first clients. It's a scale model of one of their products they needed to cool down. So the flagship product, the implementation of radiative cooling that I've come up with is something called Cryoskin. And what it is it's this really easy to apply, bendable, flexible vinyl. In fact, I'm coming out with a 3.0 version shortly. And the reason it is a vinyl instead of like a paint or a thin film or a ceramic tile like other companies or other people have attempted to do is because this is scalable. This is easy to apply. This meets all the checkmark boxes for what real-world customers want, right? They don't want to have a ceramic tile that doesn't have an adhesive, that can't bend. You can't put that on a truck. You can't put that on anything, right? It's too heavy. You can't put that on an airplane. You can put my stuff on an airplane. It's going to be less than, my current version is 0.07 millimeters, down from the first version, which was 0.14 millimeters. The newest version is going to be somewhere around 0.05 millimeters. It's only getting thinner, only getting lighter. Great for vehicles. And here's me testing it, right? I can fit it around a credit card's edge now. That's the benefit of making it so thin. I have durability tests on top of my own vehicle. That's my car. I haven't washed it in about 6 months. I would love to, but I can't because I want to see how dirty I can get it before it stops working. And by the way, it's still working. So it lasts a long time. That's a thermal image right there. You can guess which one is mine. Bluer is colder. That's what it looks like in its big sheet form. So it's big. It can be applied to very large objects. That's an example of a temperature difference. That's actually attached to my car, so that's the reading from my car. So it's out there. It works. My first ever use case was cell phones, right? That's where I started, because I started with consumer base that actually led to a lot of insights for me, especially around the design of the product, right? Because nobody wants a radiative cooling product that they can't remove, because sometimes people just don't want it, right? They'll get rid of it in the winter and reapply it in the summer. That's how it is. So I made it completely removable, adherable. You don't even need specialized tools to apply it to. That's another big thing for a lot of my automotive clients, because a lot of them don't have experience installing vinyls on vehicles. They pay someone to do it. So I can hand it to their guy that they already paid to install the vinyl, and they can just install it because I use a baseline automotive vinyl as my base. So there's a lot of things in products here. That's why I was asking about sexy earlier, because you got to make it sexy to whoever you're selling to. And here's that chart, actually. This is more relevant for you guys because you guys care about EVs and stuff, which I do too. They're pretty cool. So this is a scale model, but as you can see, you can get that temperature differential. And this is a real-world chart of a Tesla Model 3's performance over, with the temperature as the x-axis and the rated range as the y-axis. So this line right here is 100% line right there. If you're getting above it, you're doing better than your car's rated range. Let's say you have a Tesla Model 3 rated for 330 miles. If you're getting 100%, you're getting 330 miles. If you were doing worse, it means you're getting under your rated range. Now, that's not good because a lot of people count on that rated range for all sorts of things. Road trips, not having to charge multiple times a day, whatever it may be. And especially for delivery vehicles, right, this is very important. Now, what my material does is it offsets that temperature by 10 degrees internally in the vehicle, 10-degree difference. What you do is you take that difference, and that's the amount of energy you can save for an electric vehicle, which is pretty awesome. So I was doing the calculations. You offset quite a bit of energy usage every single day with a 20% increase. I mean, every industry right now is struggling. And can anybody here name an aftermarket part you can apply to a vehicle under $5,000 that can increase its range by 20%? I can't. So this is big. Now, albeit it's most effective in the summer, so in the winter it's not going to matter too much, but it's basically always summer here, which is great. So the vehicle market is where I am going with this. These are some of my price metrics. They're a little outdated because my newest version is going to be even cheaper even before I'm at scale. It's actually going to be cheaper. I'm going to reduce this price by about $5 with my newest version. So let's see, I got some IP. That's fun stuff, but you guys want to get into, are people buying it? Is it out there? It's in the real world. Yes, it's in the real world right now. That order right there, labeled for Brandon, Brandon of All Fleet, he bought enough for 2 vehicles, which netted me $3,000 at my lowest price. That's 75 square feet per ambulance. There are now 2 ambulances running around Phoenix right now with my material on it, which is really cool. And it's literally cool as well, because I've gotten feedback from the drivers, and they say it is cooler when they get in, and the AC takes less time to spin up. I think that's a win, because I'd rather have a not heat-fatigued paramedic in the summer. I don't know about you guys. If I'm having an issue, I want them to be cool as a cucumber. And actually, the city of Phoenix liked this, so I want a hackathon with them, and I'm doing a little bit of work with them right now. And right now, I'm just scaling. So this is my investor pitch deck, so they like to know that I need to scale. But I am scaling. So that's just pictures of it in my room, you know. Just piling them up and shipping them out to clients, people who want them. Thank you. So that's that. I'd be happy to answer any questions about, here, well, I'll keep this slide for just a second, but I'd be happy to answer any questions for anyone about the material, what it does, how it works. I'd be happy to give you guys a little sample to feel. Got one right here. My future use cases, and maybe how CryoX can help cool down whatever you have, because electricity-free cooling is pretty awesome. So, thank you.
Yep. Make sure you guys cop a feel of the Cryoskin.
Cop a feel.
Let's give it up for Jordan. Thank you so much. So any questions, feel free to grab him afterwards. Matthew. Just want to...
Matthew's great too, guys.
Oh.
You got more show and tell than me.
All right. So, hello everyone. I'm Matthew Awayo, co-founder and CEO at Encoat. At Encoat, we lower building owners' operating costs and their carbon footprint with our superior, scalable, and cost-effective thermal barrier system. Before I get into it, there's two problems that we need to hit on. Problem number one, right now, the U.S. spends annually $400 billion to heat and cool both residential and commercial buildings. Why is this? It is because climate change is causing extreme temperatures. Extreme temperatures is causing us to use more energy consumption, and rapidly rising energy costs just add to this problem. So this is our utility bill for the nation annually, and it's only going to go up. Problem number two, out of all the global annual emissions, 40% is directly attributed to buildings. And this is in two folds. One is operational emissions. Operational emissions is basically what you're using electricity for in your building, and then you have embodied emissions. What is the emissions that were used to produce material? So this is where I'll do our little show and tell. So a typical commercial roof starts with a substrate. So when you look up, you'll have this metal deck. On top of the metal deck, you'll have insulation. This is what keeps us nice and cool. It keeps conditioned air in and the elements out. But to hold down this insulation, you actually need something stronger like a cover board. So that's where this comes into play. And then on the very top, you would think that we'd have something that will protect us from the elements, will last forever. But it turns out it's just asphalt. And it's this material here that starts out as this whitish color, but ends up turning black. So what happens at the end of your roof's service life is you have two options. Option one is to replace the roof. So what happens? You create more emissions because you basically have to create those same exact materials besides the metal deck, because that doesn't degrade. So what is the solution? Our solution is our IntelliCoat thermal barrier and restoration system. So what that looks like is basically a two-part system. The base coat is this blue layer, so you know exactly what you're coating, and the top coat is this white reflective layer. In combination, we're able to reduce temperatures up to 28 degrees on top of that roof. So what does that mean? That means that those extreme temperatures are mitigated. That means that you're increasing the thermal resilience of your entire building, and you're improving the energy efficiency. This graph represents, the red line, what your typical temperatures are on the surface of your roof. You have this diurnal fluctuation. They go up, they go down. With ours, what we're doing is we're eliminating that. We're flattening that curve. We're allowing building owners to remain thermally comfortable inside, lower their utility bill, as well as extend the service life of their roof. So what's the value of it? Besides operating expenses and carbon footprint, so apologies for the slides. Every time it does that, it switches. But we reduce Scope 1 emissions directly. You as the building owner are reducing your utility consumption. You're also extending the roof service life, so less maintenance, less of these materials ending up in landfills. Then you have Scope 2, which is indirect. This is where you're getting your utility or your electricity from, the utilities. We heard a lot of talks today about carbon emissions. This is where we're indirectly reducing those from the utility side. And then you have Scope 3. These are value chain emissions. It's the transporting of that electricity. It is the transportation of these materials. So we are tackling it head on. And it always comes down to project cost. So whenever you look at your roof, it's one of your greatest assets, but it's usually the one that's most neglected. Our system that we're calling IntelliCoat, total project cost, labor plus material install is $4 to $6 and allows you to extend the life of your roof 10 to 15 years. This is a complete difference from a complete roof replacement, which is $15 to $20, and these materials end up in landfills. So what we are doing at Encoat is we are tackling the sustainable roofing market. We are at the leading edge. We are the leaders in this space, and we started right here at ASU. So let's look at our traction. Over the last 5 years, we've engaged with over 1,000 stakeholders, from upstream raw material suppliers, manufacturers, all the way to downstream. These are contractors, developers, architects, and everyone in between, utilities. From that, we've mitigated the technology risk through funding from the National Science Foundation. We've mitigated the thermal and energy performance risk through third-party validation from the Department of Energy's National Renewable Energy Laboratory. We've mitigated the field application risk. Right now, we are looking for commercial real estate stakeholders to integrate our system onto their roofs to both help them reduce their OpEx and their carbon footprint in the most simplistic way possible. And with that, I would love to have all of you join us on our journey as we decarbonize the built environment for a sustainable future, one roof at a time. Thank you. So I'll open it up to any questions if anyone has some. Or see me after.
All righty. Thank you so much, Matthew. I know we'll have to touch base here afterwards, because I got to get a good understanding, because I'm such a visual guy, and it sounds like, when you think of how much roof space is in the valley and how hot it is. Yeah, millions of square feet. Okay, we got David. He's bringing a little grass dance to the beach, and so real excited. David's in my MSIVD cohort, Innovation and Venture Developments, and we're getting to the point where we're just pitching. Oh, let's salt it up here for a second. Here you go, buddy. Do you need?
Cheers.
Okay.
Thank you.
It.
All right. So, hello, my name's David Redfeather. This is the first time I've ever pitched anything to anyone at any time, so this is going to be awesome. Cool. Thank you. How does that work?
Hold on. There you go. You got
it? There it is. Cool, dude. That's amazing. All right. So, CN Life Technology. This is the company that I started, SALT. And I'd like to introduce you to our first project. It is the repurposing project, Project 1. It's for sargassum removal. Okay, so this all started on a surf trip to San Diego a couple of years ago. And I was sitting on the beach, and I was looking out at the waves and I was like, wow, I really have to ride one of those waves one time. I've never surfed before in my life. So I look to my left and I see like a local surfboard rental shop. I walk over, pay the rental fee. I'm stretching, I have my wetsuit on. I paddle out for the first time. I'm like, oh, okay. I've skateboarded for a while. I've snowboarded a couple times. I think I can do this surfing thing. So I'm paddling out, and I actually made it out there and didn't fall into the water. And I'm sitting on my surfboard, I'm looking out there like, oh man, I'm in California. This is the life. I love this. And I look over my shoulder and I see the perfect wave coming. Boom, it's rolling towards me. I'm like, okay, I'm going to catch this wave. This is going to be the first wave I've ever caught anytime. I'm the type of guy that throw me in the pool, I'll learn how to swim. So I'm looking over my shoulder and then it dawns on me. I'm like, oh my gosh. The ocean is so big, there could be anything inside of the water. So I started getting a little nervous. I started like seeing the wave getting bigger and bigger. I'm like, okay, I have to hit this wave. So I start paddling. I look over my shoulder and I see like this silver, like, I don't know, like disc or something inside of the top of the wave. And I'm like, what is that? I'm like, oh my God, that's a shark right there. Oh my God, that's a shark. I was like, no, okay, David, calm down. You have to hit this wave. You cannot crash now. You cannot be the guy that's on the Channel 6 News. So I'm paddling hard as I can. Boom, I pop up right at the perfect moment, lean into it, and I'm riding the wave. I'm like, yes, I made it. I look over, and out of the top of the wave comes the biggest, most beautiful dolphin in the world. And I'm like, yes, this is not a shark. I made it. Boom, it hits the water, it goes under. I ride my surfboard all the way to the beach. I'm like, this is cool. And then I come back, I paddle back out there, and I'm sitting there, and I look over, and I see a little dolphin. His head pops up, and he looks at me, and I'm like, dude, you try to snake my wave. And he's like, yeah, I did. I was like, oh. And at that moment, that's when I fell in love with the ocean. So from then, I've been like full throttle water activities, snorkeling, scuba diving, suit boarding out at Lake Roosevelt. But over the summer, I took a trip to Belize. I wanted to go snorkel in the Blue Hole, which is a bucket dream of mine. So when I land, boom, I see this. I'm like, what is this stuff? This is crazy. Sargassum. Never heard of it before. Never like realized that this was like an invasive species or getting out of control. But this is an actual picture of what the beach looked like when I pulled up to it. So the problem, sargassum, it destroys the beaches. It emits a rotten gas. It's toxic. It causes all of these harmful chemicals, harmful effects from breathing it in. Tourism drops. It affects the local economy. Everyone's affected by it. The cleanup costs last year, the Caribbean spent $120 million just to clean up sargassum, and it's only getting bigger. It's not stopping. Sargassum also creates sargassum blooms, which suffocate the oxygen out of the water. It affects dolphins, marine life, sea turtles. Sea turtle babies can't make it out there. I mean, we can't have sea turtles dying. Look at this guy right here. It's crazy. So, my vision, this is my vision. We want to restore the beaches to the beauty and the glory that they used to be in. We want to bring knowledge and understanding to local coastal communities about the amazing opportunities that sargassum brings instead of seeing it as a problem. This is the team so far, myself and my lovely wife there, Emily Redfeather. And this is what our go-to-market. We plan on working with resorts along San Pedro and Belize. I actually purchased a plot of land there in order to create a facility, so we're working on that currently. We're looking for researchers and scientists to conduct research on different uses and applications for sargassum, as well as create bioplastics and products and other amazing things, upcycling pretty much sargassum. So the reason I'm here is I'm looking for volunteers or co-founders or anyone that has any information that would like to reach out to me that can point me and lead me in the right direction for anything that I can use to help tackle this problem. We're just getting started, and our promise to the world is we create beautiful beaches. Thank you. Is Jason here? Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Or would anyone like to say anything about sargassum or surfing? All right. Awesome.
Okay. Well, we had two of our showcase entrepreneurs. One had to call out for sickness, and another one had a family issue come up, so we're definitely ahead of schedule. Do we want to just keep rolling into Next Labs? You guys ready to roll? Okay, we might be able to get out here a little early because we got a big day tomorrow as well. And let me pull this up. Okay, here's...
Thanks. We can just share.
And it looks like Dan got out of the slideshow and said that he's got some students. And are you staff with Dan too?
Staff.
Okay. All right.
Clicker for us?
Yep. Here's the clicker, and we're really excited about this one because obviously you're telling it water and AR, VR. Okay, so I'll let you guys take it away.
Thank you, Jason. Hello, everybody. My name is Toby Von Kidd. I'm the studio director in Next Lab, which is a group that is focused on working through innovative solutions with technology and looking at what those impacts on society might be. This particular project we wanted to share with you all is work that we're doing as a part of Impact Water, which is a large-scale initiative, and we are just one team of many that is working on building solutions in this space. So I brought with me some of our student employees who are working on this project, but I think it's helpful to give some context first for who Next Lab is and how we function within the university. We seat ourselves within enterprise technology within ASU. Oh, this is great. We should do introductions first, right? That probably makes more sense. So I gave you my introduction. Do you want to introduce yourself, Charlie?
I'm Charlize Fernandez. I'm a project manager and student lead at Next Labs.
My name is Delor. I'm a user experience graduate student, and I'm a student associate at Next Lab.
So just a brief overview of what our presentation is going to look like in case you wanted to get a view ahead of time. But the bulk of this is going to be the students talking about their work in particular. I don't know if I'm not doing it right. There it goes. Okay. So as we're working within this space, one of the things that we do is we don't sit within an academic program, which means we're not limited to any particular body of research or that exists within academia. Instead, we serve the entire enterprise of ASU, all enterprises of ASU. And this allows us to activate students on industry-funded projects, working with academic partners, absolutely, in order to bring these ideas forward into things that are really working towards thinking on future skill development, the future student workforce, and partnering with industry in order to make these things possible. I'm going to try my right A couple of these themes that you'll see that we focus on in Next Lab, you see up there game-based learning, generative AI, spatial computing, and Web3. These are absolutely important to what we do. These are technologies without a doubt, but as I always tell all of my student employees is that we are not technology for technology's sake. We are very values-based, and we will use anything if we think it will help us to envision a different future. If you look beneath, you'll see some other tools and skills that we use within this space, like futures thinking, responsible innovation, embodied learning, and learner agency. Some things that are newer and more innovative conversation topics, especially when looking at well-established institutions in higher education. So a couple of things that we have done within our studio in the past. Oh no, did I break it? So a couple of projects that we've done within our studio, just to give you a sense of some work that we've done in the past. We've done digital twins for the university. One in particular, the Tempe campus, 250 plus buildings have been modeled and created into an experiential space on the Unreal gaming engine, which means that we have a high fidelity experience that can be created with these models that students have put forward. And this is now unlocking other things for us as well in regards to work around spatial computing and digital twins. We've also done some custom XR app development, creating apps that will run on Oculus Quest 2s, for example, or that will downgrade and play on a desktop experience as well. We've hosted classes in VR with our fleet of headsets that we have in our lab, and we've also supported academic research, so faculty and students who are working towards some type of research project can come and utilize our unique lab space and devices in order to elevate their own work. And in a few cases, that's resulted in us participating in the research actively. In one case for research that was done for a history course, and also even some product research for Meta. We have a unique guild model, which our students are paid to do upskilling. So 20% of their time, if we have students working 20 hours a week, they get 4 hours of paid upskilling in these future skill areas. And a huge part of this model is that we are fostering a collaborative community of working learners who are developing these skills. With that, just a small plug for one of our biggest initiatives that we've had is enabling our guilds to go public. The initial move was to open this up to the ASU community, and we are engaging in conversations with global universities regularly about how they can be formally involved in this community of future skill developers. This is a really unique model, especially again when you're talking about higher education. We are placing students at the forefront of this work. Students are the experts in these future skill development, and they are the ones who are issuing the digital credentials and leading these communities of practitioners of future skill development. So feel free to scan. We'll have that QR code at the end as well. If you think that that might be something that you're interested in, learning how to develop your own games on Unity, selecting your own guild, it's a very open and welcoming space for everybody at all skill levels. With that, it's more important for the students now to talk about their work, the awesome work they've been doing. Thank you for giving me that opportunity to provide some context. And Charlize and Io are going to help explain the particular projects surrounding Impact Water and their work.
Thank you, Toby, for introducing us to the audience. The project I'll be highlighting today, it's the project we've been on for the past 5 months. And there was a key question for us. It's how can we, as a community, improve the collective understanding of the Colorado River water shortage? And not just that alone, how can we take action that could lead to a more sustainable future? Yeah, this is a snippet of the project we've been working on for the past 5 months. This is an immersive 360 film. Yeah, and our solution basically that we're preferring is to create an immersive hub, just like this plaza we're in right now. And this hub has different various experiences in it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This is like a snippet of the massive experience. The film, basically it's an animated 360 animated video film. The film has an average user, like a citizen, getting to understand the shortage of Colorado River shortage by understanding from the policymakers, the farmers. Yeah. This is a breakdown of the user experience model we have for the immersive experience. The user starts from the main hub, where they have the opportunity to explore the hub. From the hub, they go into a portal that leads to a 360-degree film room. From this 360-degree film room, they are presented with an initial scene they could see, and they are prompted with options in form of buttons they could interact with by selecting choices. And from these options they select, it leads them to other scenarios they could see. Yeah. And we have the vision of incorporating future experiences to this hub, but at the moment we are starting with the 360 animated immersive experience. Yeah. I've been speaking about the solution we're trying to profile for a few minutes, but this is where the idea started from an idea jam that was hosted by NextLab in March 2023. It's coming together of like over 30 students across ASU, coming together to innovate ideas in addressing this issue. I was privileged to be part of one of the team called It's Your Choice team, and the exciting solution we came up with is on how to talk about this issue in a creative way by an immersive video experience. The users could make choices. Users could make choices and see the future it leads to.
Thank you, Ayo. So from that idea that was pitched at Idea Jam, we then formed a team, and these are our 10 members. We all have unique skill sets and perspectives that we offer to the team. We're all grouped into separate groups, kind of like writing team, creative team, UI UX team, and then we also have a graduate research assistant volunteer that's helping us with our gather resources and advising us on how to incorporate those resources into our project. And this is our creative process overview. Since our first experience is going to be a film, the process reflects most filmmaking pipelines. So we start with brainstorming, and since we already had that pitch, then the brainstorming, we went through several ideation sessions and workshops to flesh out that idea more and figure out what it's actually going to look like in the project. And then we went to writing and design, which was creating scripts and what that narrative is, and then designing assets that we would need for the film. And now we're currently in the production phase, which is where we're taking those designs we made and modeling them and turning them into 3D. And we're taking that script and we're recording it and doing a couple test shots where we put them all together. And the production and testing phase are kind of going to go back and forth with each other as we roll out some of those shots and scenes for feedback, and then adjusting that based on the feedback we have. And then after those 4 main phases are all done, then once it's ready, then we'll be able to present this to the public. And what we're planning to do is host events where we would distribute VR headsets and computers to communities so that community can experience the film together. And then, as Ayo said, our plan is to provide more experiences in the hub, so beyond the film. So that could look like simulations or interactive games or possibly even more films. Yeah. And so this is a further breakdown of our process.
At the ideation phase, consolidating on the idea we originally got from the idea jam, we adopted a forward-thinking approach to help us envision possible future scenarios. This was so crucial for us because it allows us to travel into the future and plan for it. Yes, we explored with the 4 archetypes of future scenario, the growth, constraint, collapse, and transformation, and the roles the different stakeholders, like the policymakers, the farmers, and the citizens play, and this helps us shape the story we're building.
And then, sorry, can you go back real quick? So sorry. Yeah, and then based on those those scenarios we built in the future, we then wrote scripts with characters that all have unique voices, and these characters would embody the different scenarios so that audiences have a clearer look at what that narrative actually looks like. And from that script, we then created storyboards, which are how we plan what the animation is actually going to look like before we get into fully animating it. And then on the technical side of things, these are the main technologies we have been using. So we start off with Blender, which is an open source 3D creation suite used to develop various models for our films and hub layout. This is the main software we've been using to create all of our assets, such as like rocks for the environment, grass patches, cacti, everything we would need. And then after we have all those assets, we then import them into one of our game engines that we are using. So the first one we're using is Unreal Engine. This is a powerful 3D game engine capable of detailing rendered films. And even though it says game engine, it's also used for just videos. So we are using this to create a high fidelity, beautiful looking shot that we would then import later on to a different platform. And then our other one is Unity. So this is a cross-platform game engine for flawless user experience, and this is the game engine that we're going to use to create the hub experience. So yeah, two different game engines with two specific purposes. And then finally, we would import all of this into Engage VR, which is a cutting-edge VR platform designed to facilitate immersive experiences, such as a 360-degree film we were making. So kind of similar to YouTube, but in a VR format. Yeah, these are the technologies we've been using. And then, so after we know what technology we're going to use and what the story is going to be, we did further research by visiting the Sadovaki Museum and the Grand Canal. The purpose was so that we could create a more authentic stage for our film, and visiting a local Arizona museum just seemed the most logical choice. So we went to the museum and visited the exhibits there, took notes for research and resources, and we also explored the canal right next to it. The Sadovaki Museum is at an archaeological site once inhabited by the Hohokam peoples. So we gained a lot of social, cultural, and environmental context behind what we're doing. And after that, we visited the Grand Canal. And so as you can see on the left, there's a photo of us, me and Io, actually there at the photo of the Grand Canal. And this is used as a reference picture for what we modeled in Unreal. So that bridge you see was modeled in Blender as an asset, and then textured and imported into Unreal Engine, where it was put together with the environment, the water, the sky, and lighting, so that it all comes together as like a more tangible scene. Thank you. And these are further production or glimpse into our production. On the left, we have our character designs. So we decided to represent the people of Arizona by using Arizona's like iconic state animals. So if you click one more time, it'll show. So on the top, we have the ringtail, and on the bottom, we have the desert tortoise, and we have a couple of others. And there's a snippet of it starting to be modeled in 3D. And another reason why we chose to use animals was to, well, we were faced with the challenge of how to represent the diverse and complex communities of Arizona, and we thought that this would be the best choice so that we focus on what really matters, which is how the water crisis affects all of us as a collective, as a wide collective. And then on the, on the right, you can see some crops we're making. models. So we have alfalfa, as our farmer is going to be mainly an alfalfa farmer. We have a dead cacti, which we're thinking of showing will show up in one of the future scenarios. We have a prickly pear model, and then again some snippets of like rocks and patches. On the bottom, we have a piece of art that helps us visualize the environment, and then in the center, you have it all coming together to create that scene. Oh, do you want to?
Yeah. We are the production phase right now, modeling characters and trying to craft a seamless film experience. Following this phase, we'll be testing with users, getting feedbacks and iterating on this solution. Our aim will be to see places we could improve before unveiling this to the public audience. Also, we have the vision of expansion, incorporating more experiences into this hub, such as like sandboxes and simulations. And yeah. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation today.
We'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has about the process, especially if it's related to the project that the team has embarked on, or if it's about the model. I can answer those as well for myself. You'll see our website and some LinkedIn, Instagram, and then my email if you'd like to get in touch about any of our work that we've been doing in NextLab. And again, that QR code as a plug to join the Discord. If you're interested in doing similar things yourself and learning these skills that these students have been really awesome at cultivating the communities. Any questions?
Thanks for this. This is great. We do a lot of futures work, and one of the things that I wrestle with a lot is that the future is deeply uncertain. And it often changes on us, meaning we learn things and tomorrow we think differently about it than we do today. And so I have really been wrestling with sort of how do we think about the value of really high production value kinds of activities that are really compelling visually and draw people in, like the ones that you're working on the one hand, but that take a lot of time and which we don't have the resources to continually update and continually produce new ones that reflect our new understandings versus, very quick, very low production value kinds of approaches to the future that are really adaptable, that we can do another one tomorrow because it doesn't cost us more money to do them. And so I'm wondering if you might talk a little bit about how you think about those trade-offs in terms of how we approach the future in these different kinds of projects, and what you see particularly as the value that these high production value kinds of experiences really bring to our future thinking.
Absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
Very cool. I think during our design process, especially in the early phases, we did kind of also wrestle with that fact about how we're learning constantly new information, and then is it all going to be reflected in the film? So I think that this, at least as we said earlier, our idea is to expand this hub. So this hub would kind of look like this building, and then we would have different rooms. And I think that part might help address some of the problem or trends we do see, and then how to respond to that. But then I think the value in having something like this, which is kind of a film, is the more well, I guess going back, the futures thinking was kind of to represent a hopeful model for how we should strive and work towards that future. So and I think the impact is that with this film, it engages the audience into that problem itself. And that more the community gets engaged with the problem itself, and that we have more people within the collective working towards it. And I think because the fact that it's so detailed and immersive kind of allows you to be in that stage and embody and understand what's like the goal, or I guess you'll kind of understand that this is kind of your world that you're living, and you can imagine it in like a different way, if that makes sense.
Just to add a couple things to that, because a lot of the work we do in exploring these future skills, it will change. We expect that it does. And so most of the expectation is that we're putting some effort to move the needle in the direction that we think we want it to go, based on a view of a world that we want to live in and the future that we want to see. And part of being rapidly reconfigurable as an R&D skunkworks type of a unit, we pivot. And we pivot often. We have spawned up new guilds that investigate new future skills. We have reconfigured our team and our structure multiple times over the last few years. And that is all to keep us as agile as possible in making sure we're actually addressing the problem and not just reinforcing a model that we established a few years ago that may not be serving us towards that end. But you're right. It's an incredibly daunting thing to stare out into the void and say, okay, well, which direction do we go? And then making that decision afterward to pivot and go a different direction. In my own thinking for it, I often think about it as setting a course off in the distance and then making decisions along the way, creative decision making that will allow you to approach the destination, but learn more in that process. And sometimes that process might take 2 weeks, and sometimes that process may take 6 months, but the willingness to reevaluate the decision you made and look back on your progress and see if it actually did help you get towards that future that you were aiming for, or whether or not that future you were aiming for is actually the future that you should be aspiring to.
Yeah, I see lots of applications, and I'm going to end the conversation, I guess, with my presentation, and hopefully you can see how we're going to integrate or ideally collaborate with you guys to make these digital twins and these AR, VR realities. So when I think about the future, especially from an events planner standpoint, I have to visualize the event. And this one was, I started in January, and I knew there was going to be lots of obstacles and barriers, and everything that's worth doing starts small. And so these are the seeds that were planted here. But like meeting groups like yours, Clark, my cohorts, I think the future can be very bright if we are imagining a similar future. Because then I look at my attention as my energy, and it's like if we're focused on the same thing, that grows. And it's like zoop, 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 and the more people you bring into it, that's the exciting thing. And so let's give it up for Next Labs here.